He made his family salmon for dinner the night before he vanished. July 3, 18-year-old Nolan Wells stood in his family's kitchen, cooked for the people he loved, hugged his mother, kissed her goodbye, and walked out the door to spend the night with friends before the 4th of July. That hug was the last normal thing his mother would ever feel. Because 48 hours later, Christine Wansley wasn't planning a summer cookout. She was standing on the shore of a remote island, begging someone to tell her where her son's body was. And when she started asking questions, the people who were supposed to have answers started deleting their social media accounts. Before Nolan's body was even found. Let that satisfy your curiosity for a moment. Because it shouldn't. It should terrify you. This is Darkness of Beneath Crimes. And if you're new here, this is the channel that goes deeper than anyone else is willing to go. What you're about to hear has kept me up for days. Hit subscribe right now, because once this story gets inside your head, you're going to want every update we release. Let's get into it. Nolan Xavier Wells, 18 years old, football player, wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College, graduate of Ocean Springs High School. His coach said he led by example, that he carried himself with humility, that he treated everybody he came across with respect and kindness. His birthday was next month. He would have turned 19. He would have suited up for another season. He would have walked back into his mother's kitchen with that smile she keeps describing. Instead, his family is sitting across from Ben Crump at a press conference in Harlem, begging America to pay attention. So pay attention. July 4th, Independence Day. Nolan joins a group of friends for a boat trip to Horn Island, a barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, roughly 10 miles from the mainland. No roads, no hotels, no cell towers, no way off that island unless someone comes and gets you by boat. Let me say that again. There is no way to leave Horn Island unless you have a boat. Nolan didn't have a boat. The group arrives. According to multiple sources, there were around 100 people on that island that day. Boats docked along the shore. Families. College kids. A full-blown 4th of July celebration on one of the most isolated strips of sand in the Gulf. Nolan was photographed on the boat with his group. Blue swim trunks. No shirt. Smiling. Alive. Celebrating. Around 3 p.m., according to Jackson County authorities, Nolan was last seen with his friends on Horn Island. Then, around 4:30 p.m., the group left. Without him. Their story? The bilge pump broke. The boat was taking on water. They had to leave. And Nolan, according to them, told the group he'd stay behind and catch another ride. Another ride. From a barrier island. With no ferry. No taxi. No way out. They said an 18-year-old boy voluntarily chose to stay on a remote island with no transportation, no shelter, and no way to contact anyone, and they just left. Now I want you to sit with that. Don't move past it. Sit with it. Because here's what nobody wants to explain. If Nolan decided to stay on that island by himself, why wasn't his cell phone with him? Nolan's mother tracked his phone using Life 360. The phone was not on Horn Island. It was on the mainland. It came back with the group. The phone came back. Nolan didn't. And it gets worse. When Nolan's family went to retrieve the phone, it wasn't simple. His mother Christine described having to go through a runaround just to get her own son's device back. A family friend named Tashima had to physically go to a house and retrieve it. Christine said she had to get on speakerphone and identify herself as Nolan's mother before anyone would hand over the phone. Think about that. Your son is missing. You're terrified. You're shaking. And the people who had his phone are making you prove who you are before they'll give it back. When Christine finally got the phone, she opened Snapchat. Nolan had 2 Snapchat accounts. Both of them were completely empty. No videos. No photos. Nothing saved. Absolutely nothing from July 4th. Now, Snapchat videos stay on the platform for 24 hours. The phone was recovered within that window. If Nolan spent the day with friends, celebrating a holiday, out on a boat, on an island, there should have been content. His family says Nolan snapped everything. When he was having fun, he was recording. That was who he was. But on this day, the day he disappeared, there was nothing. Both accounts wiped clean. You tell me what 18-year-old goes to a 4th of July party on a beach island and doesn't take a single video? You tell me. Because I don't believe it. His family doesn't believe it. And I don't think you believe it either. But we're not done. Because while the phone situation was already suspicious, the car key situation made it worse. Nolan's car was parked at a friend's house where he'd stayed the night before. His father Elmore went to that house to get the keys so he could bring his son's car home. A young man came out of a bedroom, half asleep, according to Elmore, and said Nolan was like his brother. Elmore said, "If Nolan's like your brother, go find my son's keys so I can take his car." The young man walked into the room, came back 2 or 3 minutes later, said he couldn't find the keys. Couldn't find them. Then someone outside the house got on the phone with a girl who had been there earlier. She told them exactly where the keys were, sitting on top of an Xbox in that same bedroom. 5 minutes later, the keys came out. They were there the entire time. Elmore said it himself, "Now I know you just lied to my face. Now I'm really in distress with you." A man's son is missing. He goes to retrieve his child's belongings. And the people in that house can't even hand over a set of car keys without being caught in a lie. So what else are they not telling the truth about? Now here is a detail that changes the entire foundation of this case. Nolan's father has publicly stated that it was not just Nolan and 3 teenage boys on that boat. There was a parent, an adult, a grown person who traveled with those boys to Horn Island that day and was present when the group decided to leave. If that account is accurate, and Elmore has stated it publicly more than once, then this is no longer a story about teenagers making a bad judgment call. This is a story about an adult who watched an 18-year-old get left on a remote island and did nothing to stop it. Elmore said something that stuck with me. He said, "If I was that parent and your child told me he wasn't getting on the boat, I would have told him, 'You're getting on this boat.' Because I don't want to have to answer to your parents if something happens to you." He said he would have called the boys' parents. He would have put them on speakerphone. He would have had them tell their son directly, "Get on the boat." He said at no point would he ever leave somebody else's child on a remote island. Period. That's what a responsible adult does. So where was that responsibility on July 4th? 3 teenage boys, 1 adult, and they all came back without Nolan. Now let's talk about the search, because this is where the timeline stops making any kind of sense. Nolan's family reported him missing at midnight on July 4th, but they didn't have access to a boat. They didn't know anyone who could get them to the island that night. They were stuck on the mainland while their son was unaccounted for somewhere in the Gulf. The next day, July 5th, Nolan's football coach contacted his father and took the family out to Horn Island to search. Elmore described the search in detail. He walked the island. Search crews were deployed. Drones went up. Helicopters swept the area. The Coast Guard eventually arrived with a plane. And according to Elmore, there were people already on that island. A family had camped there overnight. They had tents set up. There were boats docked on the shore. He said something that should make everyone stop and think. He said, if Nolan was stranded on that island, that camping family would have seen him. Those boat owners would have seen him. Someone would have seen him. But nobody did. They searched Horn Island extensively on July 5th. Drones, helicopters, search crews, volunteers, multiple agencies, the U.S. Coast Guard, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the National Park Service, Jackson County Sheriff's Department. All of those eyes all of that equipment, and they did not find Nolan Wells. Then on the morning of July 6th, just hours after the search ended, a U.S. park ranger discovered Nolan's body in the water off the northwestern tip of the island. Right there. After an entire day of searching, he just appeared. Elmore said it on camera. He said his body should have been there on July 5th. The tide would have brought it up. So why did it not appear until July 6th? If the current brought his body to shore that morning, where was it the day before when helicopters were circling overhead? Where was it when search boats swept the coastline? Where was it when his own father walked that island looking for him? It doesn't add up. Nothing about this timeline adds up. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, something about this case does not sit right. This is darkness of beneath crimes. And if you can feel the weight of what we're walking through right now, you understand exactly why this case has taken over the entire country. This is the work we do here. We don't skim headlines. We go underneath them. Like this video right now. Subscribe to this channel, because we are nowhere close to finished. Now let me tell you who these people are. Because I've been seeing Nolan's face everywhere. On the news, on social media, on flyers. And that's exactly how it should be. But because these young men deleted all of their social media accounts before Nolan's body was even confirmed, the public hasn't been able to see who they are. So let's fix that. According to publicly available information and statements from Nolan's family, the 5 individuals who were reportedly with Nolan on the island have been named. Eli, Kirk, Warren, Wyatt, Morgan. Those are the names. And at least some of them have already retained attorneys. They lawyered up. Warren was the one who called Nolan's mother around 11 p.m. that night asking if she'd seen Nolan. Warren also contacted the Coast Guard. But here's what doesn't make sense to me. If the group left the island around 4:30 and Warren didn't call until 11, that's over 6 hours. 6.5 hours where nobody in that group thought it was worth checking on their friend who they left on a remote island alone. And one of the other individuals, the one they called Jax, was reportedly asleep in bed with Nolan's car parked right outside his house. Nolan's keys on his Xbox. And he went to sleep. Your friend is missing on an island. His car is in your yard. His keys are in your room. And you go to bed? Now let's talk about Nolan's best friend. Because his testimony might be the most important piece of this entire puzzle. Javon Williams was on Horn Island that same day. He didn't come with Nolan's group and he didn't leave with them, but he was there. He saw Nolan. He spoke to him. He described their last interaction. Nolan saw him and immediately said, "Hey bro, what you doing? I love you. I love you." That was the last thing Javon ever heard his best friend say. Javon told TMZ Live that he was with Nolan for part of the afternoon. Then around 3:40 to 4 p.m., an altercation broke out on the island involving another friend, not Nolan. Javon stepped away for about 15 to 20 minutes to check on that friend. When he came back, Nolan's boat and the people on it were gone. 15 minutes. That's all it took. He looked away for 15 minutes and his best friend vanished from that island. Now there's a video circulating online that some people believe shows an argument involving Nolan. Javon addressed it. He said the voices in that video sound too clear for the distance shown. He believes the altercation in the video was actually the separate fight involving his other friend, not Nolan. He said people were trying to calm that friend down and get him off the island because he was losing it. But here is what stunned every single person watching that interview. When TMZ asked Javon whether investigators had contacted him, whether police had reached out to ask him anything about what he saw on that island, about Nolan's relationships, about the group he was with, Javon said no. No one contacted him. Not one detective. Not one officer. Not a single phone call. This is Nolan's best friend. Someone who was physically on that island the same day. Someone who knew Nolan's relationship with every person on that boat. Someone who could provide direct testimony about the final hours of an 18-year-old's life. And law enforcement didn't pick up the phone. You tell me that's a thorough investigation. Go ahead. Tell me. Because I don't see it. The reporters interviewing him couldn't believe it either. They said it out loud. I'm starting to understand why the parents don't trust this investigation. And honestly, so am I. Now let's talk about what happened when the family decided enough was enough. Nationally known civil rights attorney Ben Crump is now representing Nolan's family. Crump, alongside Reverend Al Sharpton, held a press conference at the National Action Network headquarters in Harlem. Nolan's parents were there. His mother Christine, his father Elmer, standing in front of cameras, pushing through grief most of us cannot imagine, demanding that the investigation be fully transparent. Crump stated publicly that the family believes this was not an accidental drowning. He pointed out that Nolan knew how to swim. He pointed out that the accounts given by the people on the boat have been inconsistent. He said Nolan's family deserves the truth, and that they will not rest until every fact about what happened on Horn Island is brought into the light. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office told reporters it suspects Nolan drowned, but no official cause of death has been released. The autopsy and toxicology results from the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office are still pending. So the Sheriff's Department is already leaning toward drowning before the autopsy results are even in. Nolan's mother said it made her uncomfortable. She asked, "Why are we so quick to rush to this conclusion? Why are we rushing?" And that's exactly why the family didn't rely on the state's autopsy alone. They commissioned an independent one. And they didn't just pick anyone. Colin Kaepernick, through his Know Your Rights Camp organization, stepped in to fund an independent autopsy. Nolan's body was flown from Mississippi to Washington, D.C., so the examination could be conducted by a forensic pathologist with absolutely no ties to Mississippi law enforcement. The medical examiner chosen has conducted more than 1,400 autopsies. He has been involved in some of the most high-profile death investigations in the country. This is not someone brought in for publicity. This is someone brought in because when the stakes are this high, you don't leave room for doubt. And Tyler Perry covered the funeral costs entirely. Two men who never met Nolan Wells stepped up for his family in ways that the system was supposed to but didn't. Let that sit with you. The independent autopsy results were expected but delayed due to travel complications. Crump stated his team will announce those findings as soon as they're received. And when those results come out, this case could change overnight. Now, Warren's stepmother, Judge Ashley Cole, released a public statement. She said the family had decided not to speak to the press, calling the media not the appropriate forum. But she also said something that caught people's attention. She said they want to know what happened to Nolan too. She said they're willing to communicate directly with Ben Crump and the Wansley family and provide whatever information they have. She also said, and this part raised eyebrows across the internet, that the truth will not stop what she called the cause for the unaliving of their small children. People read that line over and over, because it sounded less like an offer to cooperate and more like a request for protection. Let me bring this home, because I need you to understand who we're fighting for. Nolan Xavier Wells cooked his family salmon on July 3rd. He hugged his mother. He told his father yes, sir, every time he was reminded to stick with his group. His coach called him a leader. His best friend said if he'd been the last one to see Nolan, he would have made sure he got home. He was 18. He had a football season ahead of him. He had a birthday next month. He had a life stretching out in front of him. And then he went to an island with people he trusted. Every single one of them came home that night. Every one of them slept in a bed. Woke up the next morning. Had the luxury of an ordinary day. Nolan didn't get that. His car sat in somebody's yard. His keys sat on somebody's Xbox. His phone sat on the mainland with 2 empty Snapchat accounts. And Nolan was somewhere nobody could find, until suddenly, on the morning of July 6th, he wasn't. Attorney Crump said something that I haven't been able to shake. He said it's a lived experience for many Black Americans that when their children die in questionable situations, the first instinct of the system is to say nothing was wrong. He said we refuse to let them sweep this under the rug. We refuse to let Nolan Wells' death be in vain. And I refuse too. Because an 18-year-old boy who led by example and loved his family and was described by every single person who knew him as kind, humble, and good, that boy deserved to come home from a 4th of July trip. He deserved better than a group that left without him. He deserved better than a phone that came back without him. He deserved better than a system that hasn't even called his best friend. This is darkness of beneath crimes. This is what we do. We go where the surface won't take you. We dig until we reach the part of the story that somebody didn't want uncovered. If this video showed you something the headlines didn't, then you are in the right place. Subscribe right now. Like this video. Share it with someone. Because the more eyes on this case, the harder it becomes to bury the truth. Nolan's family set up a GoFundMe. The page reads, "Forever loved, forever remembered, never forgotten." We make sure of that here. We will update you the moment new developments emerge. When the independent autopsy results drop, we'll be here. When the investigation shifts, we'll be here. When the answers finally come, we will be here. Because on this channel, the darkness beneath the crime never stays buried forever.